This morning, the Biden administration is under pressure to handle the crisis in Cuba. House lawmakers met yesterday to address the recent Cuban protests, pushing for action, but they're divided on what to do. Several Republicans slammed the White House response to the protests, calling it a slap in the face. But Democrats defended the ongoing embargo, arguing the policy is popular among Cuban Americans. But Florida Senator Marco Rubio, who represents many Cuban Americans, slammed the administration, saying Congress should respect the wishes of Cubans.
They wanted liberty. Libertad. That's what they wanted. That's what they're telling us. Why don't we listen to them? They told us what they want. They want libertad. They want liberty. And if there are any people on this earth that should understand that, it should be Americans.
The hearings come following that brutal crackdown on Cuban protesters last week. Hundreds are facing charges, and advocates fear they may be convicted without due process. There's also now concern that Cubans will try to flee to the United States by boat, risking their lives in the process. NBC News correspondent Kerry Sanders joins us now from Lauderdale by the Sea, Florida. Kerry, I know you actually rode along with the Coast Guard in search of those Cubans fleeing their country, trying to make it to the U.S. What did you see? What more can you tell us?
Well, good morning, Savannah. Look, for decades, Cubans have been able to flee their country on boats, on rafts, and washing up on beaches like this here in Florida. Understand, there are more than 100,000 applications in Cuba to the U.S. Embassy for asylum, but that is a backlog. And with the most recent protests now, the U.S. government is nervous that Cubans on the island may decide to flee by any means necessary. The U.S. Coast Guard headed on patrol over the Florida Straits towards Cuba.
Checks, flaps up.
Commanding the flight today, pilot Lieutenant Commander Joshua Harrington.
So our primary mission is to save lives, so that's what we're mainly focused with. But enforcing laws of the United States and saving lives are our top two priorities. In terms of enforcing laws, that means illegal immigration. Correct.
The crew on this HC-144 on newly stepped-up patrols after violence erupted in Haiti when that country's president was assassinated earlier this month. While in Cuba, just a week later, protesters took to the streets, the largest challenge to that island's communist government in more than 30 years. Protesters demanding liberty, freedom. Haiti, an 800-mile sail from Florida. Cuba, at its closest, only a 90-mile float to Key West in the fast-moving Gulf Stream. The U.S. Coast Guard now on a heightened state of alert, aware when there are problems in Cuba, they can fast become a crisis for the United States. In 1980 and again in 1994, the Cuban government released pressure on its problems, allowing Cubans to flee the island. More than 100,000 took to the seas. The flotilla of immigrants overwhelmed Florida. Before President Barack Obama normalized relations with Cuba, any Cuban national who made it to the U.S. was allowed to stay. But under current U.S. policy, Cubans interdicted at sea are repatriated.
Nobody coming from the sea is staying in the United States. They will be returned to their country. If they have a credible fear, then other arrangements will be made.
As the mayor of this city, what do you do if thousands begin arriving by boat?
Well, we will do what we've always done. You know, we've always taken people in.
In Miami, Cuban Americans, in solidarity with those who protested on the island, say they're hopeful. After 62 years of communist rule, the anger on the island will now lead to change. But many worry if President Biden were to soften the U.S. embargo on Cuba or allow a mass migration, it would only help Cuba's regime. Ninoska Perez came to the U.S. from Cuba when she was 8 years old.
The rafters crisis is what Cuba uses as to get the pressure off. That's what they do all the time. They did it with Mariel. They did it in 1994. That's not what the Cuban people want. Not everybody can get on a raft. The people that are on the streets in Cuba want freedom. It's not about high prices. It's not about lack of medicine or food. It's freedom.
Back over the Florida Straits, no signs of any rafters, but there is growing anticipation. The U.S. needs to be at the ready to spot those who may not want to be spotted if they're just going to be sent back to Cuba. you're there to save lives, but they're playing a little game of cat and mouse.
Correct, they are, because half the time we try to find them, we try to get them safe, but they don't want to cooperate.
In the last 9 months, the U.S. Coast Guard has interdicted 554 Cubans at sea. Compare that to the 12 months before, where they only found 49 Cubans. So there's already been a big increase. And of course, all of those numbers on that increase happened before the protests began in Cuba. Savannah?
Kerry Sanders, incredible reporting. Really just such an amazing look there. Thank you so much.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.